So I've never really been a fan of Mopar cars. I've always appreciated the older 60s era of the Challengers and Chargers, but the newer cars, I really thought they're just boats. And this is coming from a guy who has one of the biggest boats of all time, which is highly hypocritical. If you haven't been living under a rock for the last couple of years, you've heard about Hellcat, and Scat Packs, and Demons, and Red Eyes, all these things. All these wonderful iterations are pretty much the same car, the Dodge Challenger from 2008. So why am I bringing this up? Let's say you wanted a Hellcat, but you didn't have the 60 G's to spend on one. What would be a good alternative? What if you just bought the older SRT from 2009 and strapped the Supercharger to it and saved 30 grand in the process? This seems to make sense on paper, but let's see if it actually works in real life. The story starts with a customer who brought in an SRT8 Challenger. He wanted more power since the stock 426 horsepower from the factory was not enough. Made sense to just supercharge it since as street-driven, daily driver, it's hard to beat the simplicity of a blower package. Specifically, what we went with was the Edelbrock E4 Supercharger, which uses the TVS 2300 rotor pack. This is the same rotor pack you find in the C6ZR1, the 13 to 14 Shelby G500, just the packaging is different. This kit is rated at 556 horsepower, which is alarmingly similar to the factory horsepower of a Gen 2 CTS-V. Let's not get ahead of ourselves right here. Also, most importantly, is the longevity of the setup. What's the point of putting all this money and effort if it's just going to blow up on the first pull? So the owner agreed to do forged pistons to handle the added stresses of being under boost and the valve train upgrades to use that boost more efficiently. Once it was all put together, then came the tuning and calibration. This is a very uncommon setup, so there isn't any off-the-shelf calibrations for this combo, so pretty much the car's tune had to be built from scratch. Also, since the camshaft moved the power band higher into the RPM range, the transmission shift timing had to be calibrated to make it easy to drive.
Dude, it's shifting good now.
Oh, it is?
Oh, I got that little fucking Hyundai one.
The engine setup at peak boost pressure only made 5 psi, even though the kit is rated for 8 psi. The reason you have this discrepancy is since the camshaft install is much more aggressive than factory, this allows the engine to breathe much better, and subsequently, you're going to see a drop in PSI, which pressure is a measure of restriction, not power, which is a common misconception. At this point, the engine is running great, so we said, how about a friendly race against my 6.2 liter supercharged CTS-V? This would be a good comparison since I believe the stock LSA makes around 8 pounds of boost. The car has a cold air intake, an exhaust, and it gives it a slight bump in power, but not much. It's still pretty much stock. These CTS-Vs ran low 12s to high 11s in the quarter mile. This in comparison to the stock 6.1 Hemi, which ran mid to low 13s. So this should be a very, very good indication if that supercharger is really making the power it should be. Quick, dude, that was fucking badass, man.
That's a good run.
Heck yeah, dude.
They're close.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. These cars are like super close. But think about it, like I mean, the stock version of the 6.1 ain't gonna be able to keep up with the CTS-V. with the air. I mean, it has an air raid on it, and it's cool, a little bit cool out. So I mean, it's impressive for 4 pounds of boost probably on that thing. Thing's probably making no boost at all. Is there any way you can log the boost on there, or you can see it, or?
5 PSI was the max. 5
pounds. 5 pounds of boost on a 6.1 keeps up with a CTSV. So yeah, I mean, once he cranks that thing up, E85 does a smaller pulley, that thing is gonna eat, dude. After the race, I was informed that on the 3/4 shift of the car, it ran a very rich AFR. It bogged down on the shift, and that's why you can see on video it started to fall back a little bit. Also, the injectors were maxed out, seeing 98% duty cycle, which definitely means that this car needs bigger injectors. The injectors that they supply with these kits, they're the bare minimum, really, to get you on the road and to make power. Since we did the cam swap, the engine is eating more air, so it needs more fuel, and now we're running out of injector. Yeah, I think the stock LSA is 8 pounds. You see it on
8 pounds, I'm leaving you.
Oh yeah, 8 pounds, you gone. Like, oh yeah, you got me. Car gets up there in speed. If we want to push this car even further, it needs very, very little. Pretty much a smaller supercharger pulley to increase the boost and get the fuel system up to par. Since we will do that in phase 2, this is a good point just to let the customer get used to the power increase, enjoy it, and once he's ready, we're going to turn this thing up. It's not a Hellcat competitor just yet, but we have more in store, so just stay tuned and subscribe to the channel.